Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video, and continuing on with Sequel Movie Week. Yes, so, that's right, you read the title, and as was teased in the last review video, I'm sure most of you knew exactly what I was teasing, but yes, that's right. I am finally reviewing, not to mention that this movie sequel is celebrating its anniversary. Yes, from Universal Pictures, Pitch Perfect 2. Yes, Pitch Perfect 2. Okay, first, a little recap on the first Pitch Perfect film, which, of course, I did review, and if you want to go check it out, I gave it an 8 out of 10, and yeah, because I really enjoyed the first Pitch Perfect film, with what it had to offer, and I didn't quite realize that Pitch Perfect is based off of a book. Yeah, I didn't quite fully realize that, yeah. But, just overall, having finally watching the first Pitch Perfect film, and which, it did pretty well, and again, I found myself enjoying it, and when I did my review, giving it an 8 out of 10. Yeah, because it was really good with its storyline and with its characters, and a few years later, and I'd say, 3 years after the first Pitch Perfect film, and not to mention, the time and setting of the sequel, with what Pitch Perfect 2 had to offer, some say that it's better than the first one. And as for me, well, I guess so. I mean, I'm not saying, I don't think there's, to me, there's no real competition on which is the best, and, and with the third one, but, my point being is that I did enjoy the sequel. I had a feeling that I would, and, seeing a few clips here and there, and new cast members stepping in, most notably Steinfeld, and, with where the direction the first Pitch Perfect sequel was taking, and what the Bella a cappella group is going through, and they're trying to redeem themselves, their competitive, titles are still in use, they haven't lost that because something horrible goes wrong, and where they're suspended from, the Barden University, but when trying to redeem themselves, they still have their competitive titles and trying to make it big time with the World Championship that's being, hosted at the Copenhagen, if I'm pronouncing that right specifically. Yeah, and with what goes on with these characters and the storyline, just, the character-driven, the chemistries between them, and, with, say, what goes on with Becca, that she secretly, had applied for a job and such, being an attorney, and, just the fact that these members of this a cappella group, they're going through a lot of struggles, but somehow, in the end, they managed to pull through. Yeah. And the songs that are featured, in Pitch Perfect 2 are some pretty good ones, with the addition of an original song, which actually came straight from one of the new members of this a cappella group. Not to mention that this new member of the a cappella group is actually a legacy, because her mother was once a member of this a cappella group. Yeah, a previous generation and such, going back in the 80s. Yeah. But yeah, and the fact that, also, Pitch Perfect 2 is Elizabeth Banks' directorial debut, and I don't think she disappointed. No, I think she did pretty good with, what she had to offer, with her direction, and what she brought to, the first Pitch Perfect sequel. Yeah, just overall, I found myself enjoying the first Pitch Perfect sequel from beginning to end, and love the character-driven, and with these group of characters, and what they're going through, and, we know, and just like with the first movie, that despite some things that they go through at first, and they're, it's not looking good, they manage to pull off, and they succeed. Yeah. Alright, but just overall, I really enjoyed it, so, and I'm sure the same goes for any of you who love and are fans of the Pitch Perfect films, and if number 2 is your favorite. Okay, so with the first things I've had to say out of the way, now, as always, read the description / the story. It's been 3 years since the Barden Bellas became the first all-female group to win a national title. All seems well until a botched Lincoln Center performance for the president leads to a scandal that strips them from their performing duties, causing internal tension, and strife. With the World Championships on the horizon in Copenhagen, Denmark, the women must go their act together for their one and only shot at redemption. Yeah, and that's another word I was looking for. Well, yeah, redemption. Did I already say that? All right, anyways. Okay, so getting into the film itself. Well, first off, it's pretty funny how this movie starts off because we hear some singing and, singing the opening theme to the Universal Pictures logo. Bum, 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 ba, 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 ba. And it turns out to be... those two characters who are the announcers, John and Gail. And yeah, John and Gail once again being played by John Michael Higgins and Elizabeth Banks. Yeah. And by the events of the sequel, the second one, they're married, apparently. Because, if you remember in the first Pitch Perfect film, chemistry happened between them. Just, yeah, that was pretty funny. But, yeah, so with 3 years having gone by, and the Bellas have made it big time, and they're at the Kennedy Center performing on stage, and because it's, at the time, the President of the United States, Obama, it's his birthday, and via archive footage of Obama and Michelle being there, supposedly they're there, and even, there's one shot where I saw that they were using body doubles. So, they go on performing, and, it's going pretty well. That is until, Fat Amy, once again being played by good old Rebel Wilson, she has a little incident. A big-time incident where, because, when it's the Barden Bellas' turn and they perform, it's going pretty well until Fat Amy, she's on this rope and such, swinging, that kind of thing, and she has a wardrobe malfunction. Her pants split, and she has no underwear. Ugh. And they get in trouble for this. Seriously, come on, again, it was a wardrobe malfunction. It's natural, right? But, sometimes with these wardrobe malfunctions still, it could possibly lead, and with what happens, to the Bellas. And once this happens, well, this goes worldwide on news, from Fox News, Jimmy Kimmel. We see Jimmy Kimmel himself, The View, and a bunch of others, what they have to say about this, golly. And when the Bella performers, they apologize in an interview, and most notably Fat Amy, And because of this, well, back at the university, they're hoping that they don't get suspended. And because of what the dean decides, and but unfortunately, they do. And of course, oh god, because John and Gail are there, and it's really not looking good for them. But that is except for, say, this of course is upsetting the members of the Bellas, but except for Becca, because up to this, she thinks that, they can do something else in life, school, a job, and so on, but for Chloe, and Chloe once again being played by Brittany Snow, and Becca, once again, Anna Kendrick, Chloe does not like this, and saying that, this a cappella group is her life, and she's just not going to have this be done for, and so on. But, so again, things not looking good for the a cappella group, the Bellas, and because they've been suspended. However, they find a way and discover that there is a possible way that they can get some redemption because of their, their talent, like one thing that they haven't lost that I mentioned, they think that maybe they have a shot for the world championship. And if they succeed, if they win, then they can come back in. They can be unsuspended and such, yeah. And John and Gail, they find this a laughing matter. They find this like as a joke because no American a cappella group has ever won the world championship, especially because, those that host the world championship outside of the U.S., they hate the Americans, according to John and Gail. Yeah. But, yeah, so, hopefully they can pull this off, and thus they are willing to do whatever it takes to, make it up there and to be a part of the world championship. And not to mention that it was mentioned to the Bellas that what was taken away from them now being given to this one a cappella group from Germany. They've taken the Bellas' spot for any upcoming, events that they've been asked to, be a part of and do some singing and such. And again, it's this a cappella group, and of course I have it up here because Das Sound Machine. Yeah, that's the name of this a cappella group from Germany, or DSM for short. Yeah, but again, Das Sound Machine. Yeah. So they are given the position that would have been for the Bellas, but yeah. Meanwhile, and while that was going on with the Bellas being suspended, but then when it led to, trying to get some redemption to be a part of the World Championship, enter a newcomer whom would be a part of the a cappella group, the Bellas, Emily Junk. And that's literally her last name, Junk. And Emily being played by the lovely, sweet, talented Hailee Steinfeld. Yes. And not to mention that Pitch Perfect 2 was her singing debut? Yeah, singing debut. And also her mother, Catherine Junk, being played by good old Katie Sagal, a.k.a. the voice of Leela from Futurama. She's been on The Conners and a bunch of other great TV materials. Just, yeah, she's great. And, the chemistry between mother and daughter in this is pretty funny. And, Emily is joining the university and hopefully to join the specific a cappella group that her mother was once a part of, the Bellas, of course, yeah. And it's just so funny because Catherine, finding it very difficult to let go of her baby girl for this, and hoping that she will succeed and wanting to see her, follow in her footsteps and such, yeah. And of course, Hailee Steinfeld being no disappointment at being a part of the Pitch Perfect family. Yeah, the character of Emily is pretty good. She, with what goes on with her a little bit throughout this movie, at times, her having a rocky start when joining the Bellas. But at the same time, she manages to succeed very later on as the movie proceeds. Yeah, what'd I tell you? Because at times in this, going through some tough times, but they managed to pull through. Yes. So as I said, so the Bellas having, starting to get some redemption by participating in, the World Championship. And, for Emily, well, her wandering around the university some, and even encountering some of the the members of the a cappella group, the Troublemakers. And even when, the Troublemakers performed a song, and one of the Troublemaker members, whom already has, love at first sight for him towards Emily, Benji. Yeah, Benji, once again being played by Ben Platt. He's trying to make a good impression on Emily, and the fact that, one of the things he mentioned to her at first when, first meeting her is, I want to saw you in half. Well, obviously because of magic, because, keep in mind, he does magic, so, yeah. I guess it kind of went well, because Emily didn't feel creeped out or anything like that towards Benji. I'm pretty sure, you can kind of tell right away for Emily that she can see and sense, like, what Benji's like, and, I mean, you know, because Benji, he's a harmless guy, and, you know, nervous, and, you know, trying to make a good impression and such, you know? But despite the fact, because, well, you know, him being a magician, he likes nerd culture, but, you know, overall, he's a down-to-earth, harmless guy, yeah, and a good talent, being a part of an a cappella group. And by the way, because, yeah, Emily first encountering the Troublemakers, well, at an orientation, yeah, and hence, as I said, the Troublemakers performing a song, etc. And as for Becca, coming back to Becca, because when the Bellas start to, you know, lay out the plans on their redemption and, you know, starting to, you know, have this be in the works to be a part of the World Championship to participate in it, Becca, behind their backs, has signed up, you know, like, has applied as an internship at a recording studio, being referred to as Residual Hate. Am I even saying that right? Because I don't know, but you know me sometimes, you know, with pronouncing stuff. And yeah, because like, the only one that really knows what she's doing is her boyfriend. Yeah, it's great. It's nice to see that, yeah, I was thinking, like, they are still together, right? And yes, they are. Her boyfriend, Jess. And Jess, once again, being played by Skylar Ashton, yeah. Whom, you know, being the leader of the a cappella group, the Troublemakers, yeah. So, Jess being a good supporter, a good supporting boyfriend to Becca, now that she's, you know, applied for this internship, and kind of embarrassing Becca a little bit, like, that's my girl, like, as she's walking into the building. And by the way, because, like, yeah, with her and the internship, like, you know, what she's doing, of course, you know, providing the coffee and foods and snacks, everything. And he's credited as Becca's boss. I mean, surely, because we learned his name, but still, you know. Becca's boss being played by good old Keegan-Michael Kay. And of course, how can you not love Keegan-Michael Kay? He's good in anything, even if he's in a movie where it's eh. But yeah, he's no disappointment in this. Because, yeah, and especially because, you know, Becca's boss doesn't seem like a bad boss or anything like that. And not to mention that he is, like, in connections with Snoop Dogg. I seem to recall he is Snoop Dogg's nephew? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So, you know, with the mentioning of Snoop Dogg and, you know, he has been put to the task to help record a new, like, Christmas album for Snoop Dogg. And one of the members of the recording studio, Dax, poor Dax, yeah, Dax being played by Sean Carter Peterson, Becca's boss, you know, still as he's referred to and you know how he's credited, always giving Dax a hard time, not listening to Dax's suggestions and thinking that it's probably not a good one, just, golly, what did Dax do to him? Beats me, but oh well. But anyways, and for a little bit, Becca being the quiet one, because, yeah, I mean, eventually, because we know her skills, we know her talents, being good at DJ and remixes, like, surely, because being a part of this recording studio is something right up her alley, you know, if only she could embrace it, and which she does eventually, just when she does finally say something, and her boss finally noticing her, but until I get there. Alright, so back to Emily, because her proceeding to follow her dreams and being a part of the Bellas a cappella group, well, bad timing, because, yeah, she came in at a bad time because, well, with the Bellas being suspended, little does Emily know at first, but, yeah. Emily showing at their sorority house, and the first interactions that she has with, like, say, Fat Amy, and, yeah, the other a cappella member, because, yeah, Cynthia, you know, the one member of the Bellas who's a lesbian, yeah, oh gosh, and even when Emily, you know, mentions, like, and introduces herself and her last name, Junk, well, you know, she's trying, and, you know, trying to make a good impression on the Bellas, and even when she mentions her mother, they all know who her mother is, because, again, Emily's mother was once a Bella, and, you know, because, as I said, where, you know, in the 80s, you know, she was a part of the Bellas, and, you know, that making Emily a legacy, and, yeah, and Emily trying to, again, make a good impression and sing some notes and such, even like something that's original from Emily, apparently, which, you know, Flashlight being one of the lyrics, and the Bella's like hustling up a little, but, you know, they're right next to her, and so even like Fat Amy pointing out to them that, you know, Emily can hear what they're saying, and just, yeah. And, you know, thankfully, Emily is accepted. I just love, because, you know, Emily, like, making it a bit awkward for her, just, you know, whoo. Oh, Haley Steinfeld. You know, funny. But, yeah, just overall, Emily somehow made a good impression on the Bellas, and, you know, so far, being accepted, being one of them. So, yeah. And right after that, well, they all attend to a college party. And, yeah, with what goes on at the college party, and, well, it seems like, you know, everybody's treating the Bellas pretty good, yeah. And, once again, because Benji trying to make a good impression on Emily, trying to ask her out, Emily is flattered by this. She finds this very sweet, but, you know, her stating to Benji that, you know, she just got here, so that's understandable. So, yeah. Also, apparently, up to Pitch Perfect 2, yeah, because we get, you know, because we once again get the return of, say, Bumper, yeah. Bumper once again being played by Adam Devine. Yeah, Bumper apparently has fallen in love and has a crush, I should say, on Fat Amy. And yeah, because there's two romances that slowly but surely build throughout this movie between Emily and Benji, Bumper, and Fat Amy. And yeah, Bumper, you know, trying to ask Fat Amy out, and, you know, if you couldn't tell, I could tell, of course, that Fat Amy seems to have a liking to Bumper, even when, like, say, at one point later at the college party, they kind of slip out and such. Just, yeah. And also, unbeknownst to Becca, because she wasn't there at the sorority house when Emily came, yeah, Becca, of course, did find out that, and when receiving a text from Chloe, that a new member has joined, and that being Emily. So Becca and Emily first meet at the college party, and, of course, Jess being there with Emily. I'm sorry, Becca. Yeah, but just overall, you know, things going pretty well when Emily came to them, and then when they all went to the college party. And then the next sequence we have is the auto show, because the Bellas going to this auto show, and, well, they would have performed there had they not been suspended. And, you know, with them at the auto show and trying, you know, they you know, them gonna cross paths with their competitors, and whom have taken the Bella's spot for, you know, world tour events, you know, and also with them still trying to find a way to get into the world championship. Yeah, they do cross paths with, yes, the DSM, again, you know, short for Daz Sound Machine, you know, we'll stick with DSM, yeah. So the DSM performing a song, and, yeah, I mean, they're quite good, but, of course, you know, we know in this movie, because the Bellas are superior and such. And, yeah, the first interactions between the DSM and the Bellas, well, I mean, of course, them giving the Bellas a hard time, and, yeah, especially because, the leader of the DSM, yeah, it's her. That being Commissar, if I'm even pronouncing that right. Again, you know me sometimes. Being played by Birgit Hjort Sorensen. I probably did butcher some of that, but still. And also the other big one in the DSM, Peter Kramer, yeah, being played by Fula Borg. And yeah, the insults that they say to the Bellas, and when they try to get back at them, and even Becca most notably, not pretty good at that, but yeah. So I guess you could say, like, the DSMs, they're like the antagonists of, you know, of Pitch Perfect 2. I mean, not really, but still. Just, you know, they're just competitors, that's all. And by the way, the other returning cast members for Pitch Perfect 2, like the members of the Bellas, like, yeah, there's Lily, the quiet one, still the quiet one, and still having a batch of lines where, you know, just like, what the heck? Just like, apparently, there's one moment where Lily mentioned about her teeth. It's not her teeth, it's teeth from others. Okay? That's weird. But still funny, yeah. Lily, once again, being played by Hannah Mae Lee. And I already mentioned Cynthia Rose, once again, being played by Esther Dean. Flo, once again, being played by Chrissy Fitt. And also, yeah, okay. So, of course, yeah, the main ones, you know, part of the Bellas. And, yeah. And some of the other a cappella members from different ones, just, yeah, until I get to them. But just, yeah, just overall, the first encounter between the Bellas and the DSM, yeah, because now they've crossed paths, and, yeah, the DSM determined to take them down, if they will. All right, and then at one point, both a cappella members, and we see with the Bellas at their sorority house that, and when Becca, still at times sneaking off because of her internship job, when coming to the house, in fact, because, yeah, like, with what's going on, like, yeah, more on, with Becca and her internship, because, yeah, we do at one point see Snoop Dogg himself recording for his Christmas album, but not to Becca's boss's liking, like, you know, he feels that something's missing and such. Then Becca finally saying something that, her boss finally noticing her, and, suggesting to him that, just keep it the way it is with how he's singing it and so on. But then, this pad and, like, pressing the buttons and making beats and such, and then Becca starting to singing a completely different song because, yeah, what Snoop Dogg is singing is, just two different Christmas songs that Snoop Dogg is singing and Becca, just to put it that. And her boss, is surprised some, with what she's done, and, thinks that maybe there's something for her. She can be more than just an intern and so on. Yeah, in fact, Becca mentioned to her boss about, some albums that she made, demo albums and such, and offering them to her boss, and yeah, see where this goes. Then, like, say, when she comes back to the sorority house of the Bellas, they at one point have a pillow fight. Well, I mean, it's understandable just to, to get the stress off of their minds and such, yes. But Becca, something was left at their doorstep. An invitation to this exclusive riff-off, and with the Bellas arriving, and they were given this password that, yeah, and when, a slide, something on the door, sliding, you got this password, and, fart, arm fart and such. But literally, Becca has to do that. I mean, I had to as well. And yes, yeah, literally doing that, and thus they arrive. They come inside, and this guy who's hosting this exclusive riff-off, just so happens to be, and I knew he was in this, but I don't know why it didn't occur to me, that, yeah, it's him. When I did watch this, the riff-off host, as he's credited, being played by good old David Cross. Yeah, and David Cross, of course, having most notably done voice work, he's done some live-action material, so yeah. And, I mean, yeah, we all love David Cross, right? So, and yeah, he too was good, being in one of these Pitch Perfect films. So, yeah, with what the Bellas have found themselves into, again, this being this private exclusive riff-off, which is called the National Acapella Laser Ninja Dragon League. Okay, that's an interesting name. And yeah, and some of the members there, first, yeah, most notably the Troublemakers are there, no surprise. Even the DSM, yeah, they're there as well. And some others that are there, because, yeah, the other members, let's see, because, yeah, and good thing, because, yeah, even with the TimeDB page, they are listed, because of them as members of a cappella groups, because, yeah, the Green Bay Packer, they're another a cappella group that's there, and, yeah, and they're also NFL players. And, yeah, let me see, because all of the NFL players / Green Packers being played by Clay Matthews, David Bakhtiari, if I'm even saying that right, Don Barclay, Josh Sitton, Thomas J. Lang, Jordan Rogers, yeah, and, yeah, so, oh, yeah, and by the way, because the Barden University members, like the dean, yeah, was played by Graylin Bryant Banks, and the Barden University secretary being played by Sharon Garrison, yeah. And also, like, the Barden University orientation announcer was Bree Grant, and, yeah, so thought I'd mention them because we saw them earlier. And yeah, because some of the, and yeah, also the Treblemakers, yeah, the rest of them besides Benji and Jess, like, the others that are just credited as Treblemakers, well, the other members of Treblemakers being, Cody L. Wiggins, Blake Burke, Ted Mook, am I saying that right? Jerry Clark, Fee View, Jacinto Rodriguez, and Ryan Leeper. Yeah, so we have them. And also the members of Des Sound Machine, or again, DSM for short, Andrew Fitzpatrick, Ali Feder, Stephen Ban, Brendan Lara, Daniel Peg Lavento, and Brent L. Boxberger, and Dylan Cheek, Dakota Smith, and Jeremy Williams, and Samantha Smith. Man, because that's a lot of DSM members. Alexis Lawson, Jordan McDempsey, Monica Maloon, Kimberly Madison Thomas, Francis Manzo, and last but not least, Cali de la Rosa. And if I did pronounce any of their names right, or if I butchered them, you know me sometimes still. And, yeah, also other a cappella members, and, which, you know, being at this exclusive riffraff, well, the Pentonics, if I'm saying that right, there's only 4 of them. Kevin Alusala, Avi Kaplan, Scott Hoyen, Kristen Malondato, I don't know. Yeah, and then there's the Philharmonics. Yeah, the Philharmonics are Trace Gaynor, Dominica Tabayan, Barry Fortgen, Julian Cruz, Virgil Rosales, Joseph, yeah, a lot of a cappella members, so, okay, just, all right. But I'm just going to leave it at that. So, yeah. So that sequence where, yeah, at this private, riff off, sorry. Yeah, again, an interesting name, you know, the National Acapella Laser Ninja Dragon League, hosted by, yeah, David Cross's character, is pretty interesting. And, what they're put to the task to, and what's going to specifically be happening with this riff-off, riff-off at the Acapella Laser Ninja Dragon League. That's just an interesting name, I'm just saying. Oh, and can't forget to mention the Tone Hangers, being another acapella group that's a part of this. And Bumper being one of them. Yeah, he's a part of this acapella group. The Tone Hangers, the other Tone Hangers being John Hogman, if I'm saying the last name right, Jason Jones, Joe Lowe, Trugillo. Well, I know who he is, and you do too. He's a great actor too. Reggie Watts, yeah. So they're there as well, and again, as I said, Bumper being there. And if you know the whole thing of the riff-off, you know, because the category of songs that they have to sing, and, like, one about, like, say, songs about butts and so on, and from one to the next, each of the a cappella members, at a certain point, they are disqualified from this riff-off, and, you know, they get the gong, because, yeah, David Cross's character lifting up the, you know, the stick and making the gong, and they're out. So, yeah. Then it comes down to, say, the DSM and the Bellas. They're the last 2 remaining, and David Cross's character pointing out to which one takes the lead on singing. Then when it comes to Emily, well, not intentionally, she kind of screws up because she sings something that's has nothing to do with what they're doing, with what they're singing as of now, and with one of the lyrics being "flashlight," and well, this being something original. And when David Cross's character confronts Emily about this, and Emily's saying that what she is singing is original, and which is not allowed. And golly, because David Cross being harsh on Emily, and when learning her name Emily, just Emily, I hate you, just golly. Him being disappointed in the Bellas, and thus, they're out. Yeah. But even after that, the rest of they continue, then they just proceed on partying, and, well, the DSM, they get the spotlight, they win this riff-off, and, they continue to perform and sing, and, and seeing some of the characters interacting with one another, and Chloe being a bit upset towards Emily, but Becca trying to patch things up, and, Emily can sense in Chloe that, you want me to, dig up a hole and die and such, but Becca, no, we do not want that. And then we seeing Emily talking with Benji some, and I'm sure, Benji trying to help out and cheer up Emily. And then another moment between Bumper and Fat Amy, because golly, Bumper, asking Fat Amy if they want to have sex, and she's like, no, but then she's winking, is she wanting to do this? But I mean, especially Bumper didn't have to kind of announce this around everybody at this riff-off, but jeez Louise, that was, so much happened at, the Laser Dragon, League and such, I mean, look, the Bellas, they so far did pretty good there, but until, not intentionally, Emily, with what she did, and, she was nervous and such, and look, she just got started being a part of the Bellas, so, who can really blame her? Okay, then, what happens next? For Bumper and Fat Amy, because, the next thing we see is, well, Bumper, surprising Fat Amy with this classic, dinner date and such, and Bumper officially asking Fat Amy to become his girlfriend and such, and, them going in public, holding hands, going to a Build-A-Bear workshop and making bears, and how they would name them specifically, and Fat Amy would get the biggest bear. But for Fat Amy, well, not that she's turning him down, I want to say, but, she's not really sure. It's she can't make up her mind or anything, and poor Bumper, because, even Fat Amy can notice, with what Bumper's doing, he's trying to hold back the tears, and then Bumper feeling heartbroken, and saying that it's over between them, Sadly for Bumper, it didn't go so well as he hoped it would. And after Fat Amy left, well, Benji and, other members, I think, one or two other members of the Troublemakers, showed up on a canoe, on a boat, because they were going to, sing something, and if, everything was going well, but, as Bumper tells Benji, it's too late, because, but, like I said, it's obvious, and we could tell from Fat Amy that it's not that she's really turning him down, it's just, her not able to process. Besides, with what Fat Amy went through early on in the film, well, of course, who can blame her? Because, it's not her fault. It's not her fault what happened, and that's another thing, because I seem to realize and recall that, well, early on in the movie, the Bellas were receiving a lot of hate mail, but I think at some point, the mentionings of what happened at the start of the movie at the Kennedy Center, and when, poor Fat Amy had a wardrobe malfunction, well, that was never brought up again, and, that was for the best, and besides, because again, them trying to make it big time, and when participating and being there for the World Championship, that's what matters, and hopefully, because, for the Bellas, managing to get that redemption and be unsuspended. So for the Bellas, well, they do start to proceed on doing some performances leading up to them being a part of the World Championships. And at one performance, well, you know, it seems to go pretty well. However, with John and Gail being there, once again, them being the announcers and such, and then them commenting at times on the performances of the a cappella groups, they noticed that, well, the Bellas are doing something very different. It's not like the Bellas. Especially like the wardrobe they have on, very golden and such. But something else goes wrong. With the pyrotechnics, technicians and such, like, yeah, something goes wrong with that. And even, like, oh gosh, poor Cynthia, her hair catches on fire, and, yeah, that was not a good sign on the Bellas. I mean, it is the pyrotechnics, it's the pyrotechnics that was the main problem. And the aftermath of that, because they're on the bus once again, and, yeah, because nobody's bringing up on what happened at that performance except for Chloe, because, yeah, her being upset, of course. And Cynthia going on Chloe and such, like, you know, that, excuse me, my hair was on fire. Just, yeah. Well, yeah, at least she's okay, has it bandaged up and such. But, yeah, you know, it was yet another accident, but, you know, they managed to pull through that, etc. So, what happens next for the Bellas? Well, it is suggested that they, they retreat, they run, and also for them to regain their spirit and find their harmony again. And we get another moment between Emily and her mother thinking that this is a pretty good idea, you know, with this retreat and such. But Emily, she's not sure, especially since, you know, she was hoping that at some point she would have like a solo career or something like that. But just that moment, and with what Emily's mom has to say to her, pretty good. So, you know, with Emily proceeding with being a part of this retreat and such, and Benji happening to be there with the troublemakers, and something that was written on their bus. I'll remember to put that in the text. Why not? Yeah, because that was pretty funny. And Emily noticed that. That was funny. But in fact, that was spray painted and such. And that was their bus, the troublemakers. But yeah, Emily and Benji once again encountering one another, and the moment between them is nice. And, you know, still Benji trying to make a good impression on Emily. And it seems like that, you know, by this point, Emily, she's interested, and, you know, they'll possibly officially go on a date. And once what they're doing so far and with the World Championships is over, so with Emily and the other Bella members proceeding on, hopping on their bus, making their way to their retreat, well, where they go to, this retreat run, is the Lodge at Fallen Leaves, yes. And just so happens that, why was I saying run? It's run by, it's just a retreat, leave out run. So, this retreat, it's a retreat, the Lodge at Fallen Leaves, it's just so happens to be run by whom used to be a member of the Bellas. And I was wondering, like, when we were going to see her, because, her returning for the sequel, of course, Aubrey, whom happens to run this place. And Aubrey, once again, being played by Anna Camp. It's a nice reunion between Aubrey and her fellow Bella members, and getting to meet Emily. Yeah, that's great. But it doesn't take too long for Aubrey to, act like a drill sergeant and such. That was funny. Yeah, and the time they spent at the Lodge of the Fallen Leaves is pretty funny, especially, like, when it comes to, say, them, like, where they're going to sleep. And they all have to sleep in this one tent. It's so funny, because, from, how I'm positioned, say, I'm laying on bed, and, some of them, they're upside down, on the other side of the tent, and, heads facing right here, you know the whole thing, you know what I'm saying. And there's a moment where Fat Amy has to, take, a bathroom break, and, golly, just what's going on with these characters in the tent. Cynthia seems okay with this, being in this tent with them, but again, her being the only one that's a lesbian in this group, and, golly, because even, say, with Becca, finding this not pleasant and wanting to go home. And little do they still know that she has done an internship thing, yeah. And Lily, because she's right in front, facing Becca, and, like her flicking out her tongue on her nose. It's funny. By the way, because more on Becca and her internship, because, well, early on, because Becca did have a talk with her boss, and he did listen to her demo tapes, but yeah, that's not a good sign, and her boss telling her, like, she's got to do something else, and, like, not just with the remix thing and all that, the mentioning of the remixes. Then there's a moment between Becca and Fat Amy. Fat Amy just so happened to found out what Becca was doing all this time when, like, say, she had to, she disappeared and not being with the Bella members, just, yeah, even when they were practicing and rehearsing, yeah. And, well, Fat Amy's okay with this, but, telling Becca that she didn't have to hide this from them. But it's understandable, especially since with all the pressure that was put on the Bellas, most notably Chloe. Yeah, it's understandable, but still. Didn't have to really hide it. And, with the talk that Fat Amy gives to Becca, trying to cheer up Becca and, trying to, help her out. Even, like, there's a mentioning, like, Fat Amy mentions something about she met 3 members of the Wiggles. Okay? I mean, besides, Fat Amy, she comes from Australia, so, I mean, that makes sense. But that's pretty funny, a mentioning of the Wiggles. Yeah, because the Wiggles being a big deal, in music. So, go figure. But anyway, so, yeah, so, still, them at the, the Lodge of Fallen Leaves, and yeah, by next morning, Aubrey gets them up, and yeah, thus they start to rehearse and sing some songs like, the Boogie Woogie Buford Border Company beat, or Never Gonna Give Up, Never Gonna. They're also doing obstacles, like, I guess, like, in a way, because, like, an army camp or something, because, like, jumping in the river, or, muddy wrestling, or something, just like, what does this have to do with singing and such, and refinding their harmony? I don't know. I mean, that's just how it is at the Lodge of Fallen Leaves, and yeah. Becca, at a certain point, yeah, she can't stand this, and it is brought up finally to the Bellas, and most notably to Chloe, and even Fat Amy accidentally bringing it up, that, yeah, Becca being a part of this recording studio internship, and yeah, the fact that she had been hiding it from them, and yeah, Chloe is upset towards Becca, and Becca, because she was planning, to leave the Bellas, and when things weren't looking good, and, even at one point she was gonna walk off. However, it was mentioned earlier at the Lodge of Fallen Leaves that there was a lot of bear traps, booby traps placed, and what was the point? Because, and in fact, Becca accidentally sets off a booby trap where, yeah, a net, and, it's a very intense moment, and for them, because, the situation that Becca's in, and, then, like, she starts to feel bad and regret on some of the things that she said to them, yeah, and how that net is slowly coming down, and they've got to do something to rescue her, to catch her falling. I mean, it's not like she's gonna die from the fall. Come on, it's not that high. And even when it's, like, detaching itself, like it's coming down some, I mean, eventually it does so, and some of the Bella members, saving and catching Becca from her fall. But apparently, Lily happened to climb up one of the trees and snip off the rest of the net. Yeah. That was funny. So after that, well, later in the evening, they all get together at a campfire and, fireplace. And, yeah, this is where, like, say, Aubrey, like, helps out, giving them advice and about the real world, and at some point, and when they do graduate, because that's another thing, they will soon graduate. But yeah, just the fact that at some point, the Bellas will part ways, and the mentionings of each of them, what they're going to do when they depart and when they graduate. And then they come together and they sing. And also, like, yeah, everything's cool now between, like, say, Chloe and Becca, and, with them now knowing what Becca was doing all this time behind their backs. But as I was saying, them all coming together and singing. And at that moment, they found their harmony. And then Fat Amy's the last one when they ask her, like, what is she gonna do? What is she gonna do after she graduates and such? And then, like, one thing that occurs to her, she realizes that, oh my god, you know, like, Bumper is her true love, and she's got to go back to Bumper and such, and yeah, like, make things up for what she did and, like, breaking Bumper's heart, only having to be caught by one of the booby traps. Oh, Fat Amy, just, yeah. But yeah, then the next day, like, you know, we see Bumper along with Benji. Like, Bumper's helping out Benji with, like, a magic trick that has to do with this cute little piglet. And, well, yeah, then, like, say, Fat Amy coming in on a boat and with a paddle and singing and such, but she's having a difficult time trying to paddle the boat. And even when she's trying to sing a solo, and when, like, this car comes in and, like, you know, is she gonna cross? Is the car gonna go? Yeah. And Bumper, he's not having any of it at first. Just no, just, you know, what he says. But eventually, he does give in. So, yeah. By the way, because, yeah, even, like, say, some of the Bella members, I guess they were seeing what Fat Amy was doing, and some of them were commenting on what she was doing out in the river on the boat. But to bring up some of the songs that were a part of Pitch Perfect 2, because most of them, of course, being original, like, being, you know, songs, like, you know, that are used for this, but except for one, like, yeah, because some of the songs that are part of this, like, you know, Back to Basics, Cups, We Belong, that, Bumper and Fat Amy sing, and, yeah, and some of the songs that were performed at the conventions. Also, yeah, with Snoop Dogg singing a Christmas song, that was, you know, Winter Wonderland, yeah, and Becca was singing Here Come Santa Claus, yeah, or if it was the other way around, but I'm just saying, yeah. So those were the two Christmas songs that each of them sang, and yeah, just, you know, the songs that were chosen and used for Pitch Perfect 2, you know, there were some pretty good ones, but anyways, so yeah, but just overall, yeah, Fat Amy and Bumper, they officially become a thing, although they immediately just were going at it with each other, and which caused some of the college members, like, you know, who were watching a magic trick by Benji, they left. They didn't want to be there. Because, yeah, get a room, Fat Amy and Bumper, because they were literally rolling around the grass, and, yeah, from there on. But after that, well, seeing all of the Bella members in their graduation get-ups and taking a picture together, and all of them smiling except for Becca. Apparently, because, yeah, Becca having a bit of trouble when it comes to smiling for pictures, even when she, you know, got her picture taken when she, you know, got the internship job. Just, yeah, that was funny. And by the way, because Becca actually teams up with Emily, because, you know, because at the fireplace, she offered Emily and asked her, I should say, if, you know, she wanted to collaborate because of the whole mentioning of singing something solo, and by doing it at the recording studio, and thus that's what they do. And they kind of do it secretly, I guess, you know, sneaky, because, yeah, Emily in the booth and Becca at the controls, and thus, you know, with what Emily is singing, I mean, yeah, it's going pretty well for both of them. And yeah, the song that Emily is singing, well, it's the original song from her, Flashlight. And yeah, because, you know, as I said earlier, because, you know, Becca's boss was not impressed with, you know, with what Becca does, but when it comes to Becca teaming up with Emily, and thus, you know, with what Becca can do, and by helping Emily record Flashlight, yeah, then when it leads to, say, Becca's boss listening to a demo of it, and he was impressed by it, and telling them that, you know, looking forward to working with them sometime in the future. Also, apparently, there's this thing with Becca's boss where he apparently has trouble with names and calling them by the opposite, like, you know, with Becca's name and Emily's name, instead of, like, say, calling Emily, like, you know, saying Elizabeth, or what is it again? Just, but overall, it went well. It went well for Becca and Emily, especially for Becca, making a good impression on her boss. And, well, what would come next for Becca and Emily now that they've, you know, they've impressed Becca's boss and what's going to happen down the road. And after, as I mentioned, after they complete their graduation, then they travel to Copenhagen. Okay, I pronounced it right this time. Yeah, Copenhagen. But if I say it again later on, then I might mispronounce it again. But just, yeah, Copenhagen. They finally make their way to Copenhagen, where the World Championship is being presented and held at. And, they seem to be having a good time so far at Copenhagen. And there's also a mention on them paying a visit to Hayden Christensen's house. Okay, and one of them saying that, saying something negative about him in the Star Wars prequels. Okay, oh, come on. I don't know, because, I guess at that time still, the prequels were still being crapped on, but even as of now, the prequels have gotten more love and appreciation, and rightfully so, because, I too absolutely love the prequels, and I'm sure the same goes for a good majority of you. But, yeah, after that joke and reference, and, because some jokes and references here and there in Pitch Perfect 2, they're funny, of course, yeah. But the one with Hayden Christensen, I can remember most notably, of course, it's a biggie. So, they finally make their way to where it's being presented, the World Championship, and thus preparing themselves, and, we get some bit of montages of other a cappella groups, like one from, Africa that's there. Cool. And, of course, the DSM being there, obviously. Also, another moment between Emily and Benji. Benji surprising Emily, and, Benji, even though him being a part of a different a cappella group, still being a supporter of the Bellas. Well, and the same goes for Jess, because, Jess also being there too, and when they're there at the crowd, when the Bellas are up next, and they're actually the last ones to perform. But so point being on Emily and Benji, because Benji wishing Emily good luck, and Benji had a surprise, wanted to give something to Emily, but even before he could do so, Emily went for a kiss, kissing Benji. And after that, magic trick, of course, with the hankies. And, because, making a good impression on Emily, definitely. Becca's seen this, and she's very impressed, and being proud towards both of them. And Emily giving Benji one last kiss, and, oh yeah, you go, Benji. And, so Benji, now, I guess you could say, being an official boyfriend to Emily, as well as Jess. Again, both of them are there to support each of their girlfriends, and, of course, the Bellas. So when it happens, because with all of the other a cappella groups doing their spots in the World Championship, and once again, John and Gail being there, being the hosts and commenting on, the a cappella groups. Then it comes to say the DSM, and yet again, the DSM having more insults for the Bellas, and the Bellas trying to insult them back, but still not good at it. And they're not really sure if they've got this. Especially when it comes to the DSM. But, for some of them, including Fat Amy, having, putting courage in them, and that they've got this. And, Fat Amy is not going to let what happened to her at the start of the movie, be effective and so on. They've got this. And thus, it's their turn. They're the last a cappella group to go out on stage, and their one chance to redeem themselves. And when that happens, the crowd, they're cheering them on, and, that especially goes for Benji and Jess, and, that's my girl, Jess shouting that out. They start to perform, and even when, say, at a certain point, they start to perform an original song. The one song that came straight from Emily, Flashlight, yes. And this does surprise John and Gail, just the comments that they make, and as this proceeds on, and, and how further they sing Flashlight. Well, a surprising moment happens where past Bella members show up. Even, surprisingly, one of the Bella members happens to be, Robin Roberts. Yeah, she's, apparently she used to be a Bella. And of course, we know who Robin Roberts is, yeah. So that was really cool to see her. Even Emily's mother happens to be there. Of course, she has to be there. And yeah, because some of the former Bellas, like I already mentioned Robin Roberts, there's also Kether Donahue, okay, yeah, and C.J. Perry, Barney Ashev, if I'm saying her last name right. Again, you know me sometimes. That's really cool, because however they pulled it off, by bringing together all of the past members of the Bellas, at that moment, awesome. And, you know, what's really cool is that I love this, because when the song Flashlight finishes, the spotlights turn off, and then the last spotlight to be on is on Emily, her finishing the song, and the crowd goes wild. They loved it. And, well, it's obvious that, well, the Bellas, they're the winners. Yes, good for them. And that's the defeat in my eyes on the DSMs, yeah. Sayonara, you know, you tried. You were good, but no. The Bellas are they are the superior a cappella group. So, yes. Thankfully, and yes, they got the redemption, winning the World Championship. And the aftermath of this and the epilogue, well, after winning and that back at the sorority house, Emily now taking on a ceremony to officially become a part of the Bellas. Yeah, having to drink from a cup and having to write her signature and to, you know, sled down a stairway. Just, yeah. And Fat Amy was demonstrating that, and then it was Emily's turn. And yeah, and with her about to slide down the stairs, that's how the movie ends. But yeah, that was a great way to end it off. However, the movie's not finished quite yet, because there is, I guess you could say, yeah, a mid-credit scene. Well, it plays during the credits, okay? It's like, you know, one of those movies where we have a scene playing as the credits roll. I mean, sometimes in other movies, we would get, say, a batch of outtakes. You know, because this, you know, because in the first Pitch Perfect film, we had a batch of outtakes, but in this, yeah, we get one more scene, which happens to center on Bumper. He participates and auditions for The Voice. Oh boy. And well, of course, the judges of The Voice, they're there, of course. And at the time, whom were the judges? Yeah, Adam Levine, Christina Aguilera, I might be mispronouncing her name some, but you know who it is. Pharrell Williams and Blake Shelton. He seems to be making a good impression on them. I mean, Blake Shelton was the first to push the button and I Want You, but then he pushed his button again and his chair turned around. No, come face me again. But yeah, then say Pharrell Williams, Christina, and Adam pushed their buttons, and then Blake did again. And yeah, even like say when, you know, I want you, like, you know, I love you, America, just, golly, just stick with singing and just don't overdo yourself, you know? But even with that, the crowd still enjoyed his performance, and so did the judges. And Christina especially, loving his personality and energy. Yeah, of course, because he's got a good energy with all this, and yeah, and thus, you know, Bumper, he chooses Christina, going for a hug, and it's a long hug, and like, you know, just kind of snuggling with her, you know, hi, Mom, straight to the camera, just... Again, don't overdo yourself, Bumper. Don't, like, you know, hey, at least he got the girl, Fat Amy, but still, you know, be careful. And because now that you've chosen Christina and such, you know, wants to help Bumper, give him a singing career, just, yeah. And, you know, and also, of course, it makes sense for, you know, The Voice to appear on this. And, well, because, I mean, The Voice studio being in the Universal Studios backlot, so that makes sense, but yeah, anyways. Yeah, so, Pitch Perfect 2. It was really good. I really enjoyed it from beginning to end. The storyline, the characters, what's going on with them this time, the situation that the Bellas find themselves into, trying to get the redemption, and when, you know, participating in the World Championship, which they do succeed and win, their a cappella competitors, new characters that step in, most notably Emily. Again, Hailee Steinfeld was a really good addition to the Pitch Perfect family. No disappointment, of course, this being her first movie where, yeah, her singing debut and such, and again, this also being the directorial debut of Elizabeth Banks. Again, she was no disappointment at directing this. And yeah, with what Pitch Perfect 2 had to offer and what was going on at times in the movie, the struggles they went through, but they managed to, you know, get back up on their feet, find their spirit again, their harmony, just, yeah. The funny moments, the emotional moments, they were really good. And the songs that were a part of Pitch Perfect 2, and with, you know, an original song, Flashlight, really good too, yeah. And with some cameos here and there, and, you know, with the characters, just, yeah. What more do I have to say? I enjoyed Pitch Perfect 2, and I don't know, because, not to say that I enjoyed, like, you know, I enjoyed the first one, but I also enjoyed the second. And with the third one, just, yeah, I'd say, because the entire Pitch Perfect movies are all really good, and this being the first sequel, did not disappoint. Okay, and I'm giving Pitch Perfect 2, well, why not? Yes, 8 out of 10 stars. Yes, 8 out of 10 stars for Pitch Perfect 2. And what about you guys? What did you think of Pitch Perfect 2 itself? Is it your favorite of the Pitch Perfect films? Did any of you get to experience seen this in theaters? And if, you know, of course, any of you that have seen the first one, and when it came to the second one, and then the third one, but just, yeah, what were some of your favorite moments? The choice of songs, the movie's original song, Flashlight, Hailee Steinfeld's first appearance in the Pitch Perfect franchise. You know, again, your favorite moments. Did you get a bit teary-eyed at some parts? Yeah. And with what was going on with the characters, just, yeah. Overall, what do you think of Pitch Perfect 2 itself, and with what I've had to say, my review, and yeah, what did you think of my review? Leave comments and give this review video a like, as always. And so, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of Pitch Perfect 2. More review videos are coming your way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I will see you guys in the next video / review. And, well, continuing on with Sequel Movie Week, stay tuned, because the next film sequel I'll be reviewing, along with one of my friends, well, it's another Universal Pictures film, and yeah, this being another film sequel from, well, Universal Pictures. And, you know, it came out the same year as Pitch Perfect 2, and it came out just 1 month after Pitch Perfect 2, and to best describe it, well, let's just say it's the return of our favorite foul-mouthed teddy bear. Yeah, you know exactly what it is. Just, yeah, again, stay tuned for that. Take care, happy anniversary to Pitch Perfect 2, and until I review Pitch Perfect 3, peace out.